Welcome to Pillow Talk Dreams, where every night becomes a story and every story leads you to peace. If you love calm voices, gentle journeys, and stories that help you drift into dreams, then don't forget to subscribe and let your nights be a little softer. Now close your eyes and let the story begin. The sea had been breathing beneath my window for as long as I could remember. Each night it spoke in the same soft rhythm, waves folding, withdrawing, returning again. Tonight, that rhythm feels slower, older, as though even the ocean has grown tired. The lantern burns low beside me. Its flame trembles when the wind sighs through the cracks of the tower. I've watched it dance for more nights than I can count, a small golden soul whispering against the dark. They say a man can hear the world differently when he grows old. That sound no longer reaches the ear, but something quieter inside. I think that's true. Now I hear things I never noticed before. The pulse between each wave, the heartbeat of the tide, the way the night breathes when no one is listening. Sometimes I wonder if the sea remembers me. I've tended this lantern for almost half a century, keeping its light steady so that ships might find their way home. But lately I'm not sure who I'm guiding anymore. No ships pass these waters now. The world has changed. Even the stars above seem fewer. Still, I keep the flame alive. Not because anyone asked me to, but because I can't imagine the night without its glow. The walls around me hum softly. Salt clings to the stone, glittering faintly in the lantern's reach. There's a clock by the window that no longer ticks, yet I still glance at it sometimes out of habit, as if waiting for time to return. Outside, the wind moves across the cliffs. It doesn't rush or roar. It simply breathes a long, steady sigh that wraps around the tower and disappears into the dark. When I step outside, the air greets me like an old friend. Cold, gentle, endless. The kind of cold that doesn't hurt, it reminds you you're still alive. The sea stretches below, vast and silver beneath the moon. Every ripple catches the light, and for a moment the water looks like a moving sky. I walk slowly to the edge of the tower balcony. Each step echoes softly. The wood beneath my feet creaks, singing a low note that only I and the sea seem to understand. I rest my hands on the railing, rough wood, warm from the day's sun. Somewhere far below, the waves kiss the rocks and the sound of it feels like breathing. I close my eyes and listen. No voices, no ships, just the sea, just the night, and the steady hum of a lantern flame, the only heartbeat left in this lonely place. I remember when this light meant something. When sailors would wave as they passed, when children would gather shells at the shore and shout up to me, "Keeper, will the lantern burn tonight?" And I'd smile, pretending not to hear, just so they'd shout louder, their laughter carried by the wind until it mixed with the tide. That was years ago. Decades maybe. Time has lost its edges. Now even their laughter feels like something the sea imagined. Still, I light the lantern because I must. Because even when no one is watching, light deserves to shine. There's a kind of peace in repetition, in doing the same gentle thing every night until the world feels soft around it. I trim the wick, I pour the oil, I strike the match, and I watch the flame bloom again, just as it always has. And in that tiny moment when darkness gives way to light, I feel something, a stillness that fills my chest. Not happiness, not sorrow, something quieter. It's the sound of the soul resting. I take my chair by the window, the same chair I built when I was young. It leans slightly to one side now, but it knows my shape better than any bed could. From here, I can see the whole horizon. It looks endless, but I know it ends somewhere, somewhere beyond the fog, where light meets sleep. I watch the lantern's reflection shimmer across the glass, and the waves mirror it below, a trembling gold trail across the dark. That light used to mean home for others. Now it means peace for me. The night deepens slowly. The air turns colder and the moon begins to lower itself into the sea. I think of all the nights before this one, nights filled with storms, with laughter, with silence so deep I could hear my own heartbeat echo against the walls. The sea has seen me at every age, as a boy who dreamed, as a man who waited, and now as something else entirely. Not old, just quiet. Soft internal pause, the voice lowers, slower. It's strange how peace can feel like both presence and absence at once. The world has not left me, but it has stopped asking me to follow. And I am grateful for that. There is a beauty in stillness, a kind of truth that only appears when movement ends. Tonight, I will not chase memories. I will not reach back through time for things already gone. I will simply sit here with my lantern and let the sea breathe for me. The waves rise and fall. The flame dances softly. My breath follows their rhythm. For a moment, perhaps forever, I am part of the same pattern. Lantern, sea, night, breath, everything moving, everything resting in perfect quiet. The night folds itself around me, a blanket woven from silence. The lantern's glow paints gentle gold on the walls, and every flicker feels like a heartbeat. I breathe in time with it, slow, deliberate, forgiving. Sometimes I think the flame breathes me instead. It's strange how the smallest light can command the body to rest. It doesn't speak, doesn't ask, it simply exists, and in its stillness everything else learns to soften. Outside, the waves hush their language. They've grown tender, as if the sea too has fallen into meditation. The wind curls low around the tower, tracing its fingers along the stones before slipping away again. I close my eyes and the sound shifts. The world grows wider in the dark behind my eyelids, a sea without shore, a night without end. In that stillness I begin to drift, not asleep, not awake, just between. The sound of the sea becomes the sound of breath, and the pulse of the lantern becomes the rhythm of memory. I can almost hear footsteps, soft, deliberate, echoing up the spiral stairs, each step a whisper of something once familiar. It's impossible, of course. No one visits anymore, but memory has its own way of climbing old stairs. Are you still watching the sea? The voice is gentle, too gentle to be real, but I recognize it. I turn slightly, though I already know there's no one there. The air behind me glows a little brighter, as though the lantern's reflection has found a new wall to dance upon. I keep the light burning, I murmur. Someone has to. The silence answers with a sigh, warm, loving, endless. And in that sound I remember her. The woman from the village below, hair the color of dusk, eyes like the calm after rain. She used to bring me tea when the winters were long and sit by this very window, her voice carrying softly through the room. She'd ask what the sea said that night, and I'd tell her stories I'd made up, pretending I could translate the tide. Her laughter still lingers in the corners of this room. It hides between the creaks of the floorboards and the hum of the wind. It's been years since I last heard it, but some sounds never stop echoing, they just go deeper. The flame bends suddenly, leaning toward the window as if the night outside has called to it. Through the glass, the world looks made of silver smoke. Mist coils over the waves, and for a heartbeat, I see shapes moving through it, shadows that walk where there should only be water. The air hums softly, like the beginning of a song. I rise slowly, the chair sighing beneath me as I leave it behind. My knees tremble a little, but the rhythm of the sea steadies me again. Each step toward the window feels lighter, as if gravity has decided to rest too. The glass is cold beneath my fingers. When I look closer, the fog outside parts like curtains and I see it, a small boat drifting across the silver surface. Its lantern sways gently, a golden twin to mine, its reflection stretching long and trembling. There is no oar, no sail, no sound. Just that quiet light moving toward the horizon. I should not feel calm, but I do. It feels like the sea is remembering something it had forgotten, like a promise whispered long ago, now returning home. I open the window. The wind greets me softly, carrying the faint scent of rain and salt. The lantern flame wavers but does not go out. Its glow spills across the sill, and for a moment the light from the boat and the light from my tower meet, two flames, across the silence of the sea. And in that meeting the air feels warmer, like two heartbeats recognizing each other. I speak without thinking, not to the night, but to something beyond it. If you can hear me, keep going. The light will stay until you're home. My words drift outward, carried by the same wind that carries dreams. Somewhere out there, I imagine another keeper, another soul, watching another horizon. Perhaps they see my light too. Perhaps they're whispering the same words back to me. For a long time I stand there, hands resting on the window frame, eyes following that distant glow. It moves slowly until it becomes smaller than a star, and then it's gone. Only the sea remains, only the soft hush of waves returning to their rhythm. When I sit again, I feel the faintest ache in my chest, not of sorrow, but of release. That little boat, that little wandering light, it felt like something of me had finally begun to travel again. For years, I've been the still one, the one who waits, who keeps others from getting lost. But maybe even light needs to wander. I smile faintly at the thought. The sea, the lantern, the silence, they all seem to smile back. The mist outside thickens. It wraps the world in soft white silence, and even the horizon disappears. Inside the tower, everything glows dimly, the walls, the air, even the space between thoughts. And I realize the night has stopped feeling lonely. It feels alive. The flame has grown smaller now, a tiny, breathing ember. I lean forward, and for the first time in years, I whisper something to it, something I've never said aloud. Thank you for staying. And the lantern answers with the gentlest flicker, as if bowing in return. The sea sighs. The mist closes its hands around the world. And somewhere beyond the fog, I hear a voice, not from memory, not from time, but from peace itself, whispering, "Rest, keeper." The light remembers. I must have drifted somewhere between thought and breathing, because the world feels softer now, weightless, untethered. The chair beneath me is gone. The floor, the stones, the tower, they've all dissolved into something gentler. I open my eyes and the lantern is still there, but its light no longer burns, it floats. It hovers in the air before me, glowing like a living memory, and around it the darkness is no longer dark. The sea hums below, but it is not the restless sea I've always known. It's slower, more deliberate, as if each wave is drawn by hand. The mist that once veiled the night now feels like silk beneath my fingers. I move through it as though walking through an old song. There's no fear here, no boundary between where I end and the world begins. It's as if the sea and I have finally agreed to breathe in the same rhythm. The lantern floats ahead of me, guiding me down an invisible path. Its light spills across the surface of the water, turning ripples into ribbons of gold. Each step I take lands silently, though I know I am walking on the sea. I look behind me, no footprints, no echo, just endless water folding itself back into stillness. And yet I feel something watching me, not with eyes but with memory. The sea remembers me. It remembers the countless nights I watched over it, the storms, the fog, the lonely dawns. It remembers every breath I ever exhaled into its wind. And now, perhaps, it's my turn to be carried by it. The lantern slows. Its glow widens into a gentle halo, and within that circle, the shape of an old pier begins to form, wooden planks shimmering as if made of starlight. It stretches out into the mist, ending in a single bench. And there, sitting quietly, is a man I almost recognize. He's dressed simply, a long coat, weathered hands, a cap pulled low over his brow. His posture is familiar, his silence even more so. As I approach, the lantern's glow grows dimmer, as if encouraging me to rely on something deeper than sight. The man looks up, and when he does, I feel the soft collapse of time itself. He looks like me, only younger, steadier, untouched by years of waiting. He smiles faintly. "I wondered when you'd finally come," he says. His voice, it's mine, but lighter like wind before the rain. I sit beside him. The bench creaks under the shared weight of memory. "For a long time," I whisper, "I thought I'd forgotten how to dream." He nods, eyes on the horizon. "Dreams don't leave," he says gently. "We just stop walking far enough to find them." The horizon before us begins to glow, not with the rising sun, but with something more ancient, more human. It's as if the sea itself is remembering light for the first time. Each wave catches fire softly, turning the world into liquid gold. The younger version of me speaks again, but his voice is fading, becoming a part of the air around us. "You kept the lantern burning," he says. "You gave the sea a heart." I close my eyes. There's a tear somewhere on my cheek, but it feels like it belongs to both of us. "And now," I ask. "Now," he says, "you rest. The sea will keep the light for you." When I open my eyes again, he's gone. Only the lantern remains hovering where he sat. It flickers once, twice, then begins to rise higher and higher until it becomes a star among the mist. The pier dissolves beneath me, but I do not fall. The sea catches me gently, cradling me as though I were a part of its tide. I float, and the world hums in tones too deep for words. Every sound, the wind, the waves, even the silence, is a lullaby now. Above me, stars drift lazily across the sky. Each one seems alive, breathing in rhythm with my own heart. For the first time in what feels like forever, I am not the watcher. I am the one being watched by the sky, by the sea, by peace itself. And it feels right. The last thing I remember is the feeling of the water against my hands, cool, forgiving, infinite. Somewhere within it, the lantern still glows, no longer a thing apart from the sea, but one with it. And as my eyes close, I realize I am no longer keeping the light. The light is keeping me. When I woke, or perhaps when I simply became aware again, the world around me shimmered like glass beneath water. Every color moved slowly, like it had forgotten what shape it was supposed to hold. The sea was no longer water. It was light flowing, folding, as if dawn had melted and poured itself across the earth. And yet I could breathe. The air was cool, smelling faintly of salt and memory. I looked down. Beneath the glowing surface, I could see my reflection, but it wasn't my face from tonight. It was me from long ago. The version that used to laugh easily. The version that still believed the light would never dim. He smiled up at me. And for a moment the reflection's lips moved, but I couldn't hear what he said. Instead, the sea spoke for him. Welcome home. The voice was everywhere, not booming or loud, but soft, like a mother whispering to a child. It filled the air, the water, the silence within me. I began to walk again, though there was no shore to follow, no direction to choose. Each step sent ripples of gold across the surface, and within each ripple I saw pieces of my life, moments small enough to forget, yet too sacred to truly lose. There I was, younger, standing at the edge of the pier in midsummer, my hands stained with oil from fixing the lantern. There she was too, the woman with eyes that saw through storms. She laughed as the wind tangled her hair, and I pretended to be annoyed, though I secretly loved the sound. Her laughter drifted through the glowing air, soft and round like a bell in fog. The sea gathered her voice, carried it toward me, and for a heartbeat it felt as if she was here again, not as a memory but as presence. Do you remember? The question came from everywhere and nowhere. I do, I said quietly, though my voice sounded smaller here, as if the sea didn't need volume to understand. I remembered her hands on the lantern's glass, steadying it as I trimmed the wick. I remembered the night she said she'd come back when the sea grew calm again. And I remembered waiting through hundreds of calm nights that never brought her home. Why did you wait so long? The sea asked gently. I smiled. Because the light needed someone. And I needed the light. The water shimmered in answer, and I felt something release inside my chest, a knot untying after years of silence. I kept walking, and the world began to change again. The light grew warmer, richer, like the color of morning sunlight through curtains. The mist thinned, revealing small islands drifting in the distance. Each one glowed with a different hue, soft blues, muted golds, silver-white shores that pulsed like slow heartbeats. I stepped onto the nearest island, and as my feet touched its sand, I realized it wasn't sand at all. It was glass, millions of tiny lantern shards, each one holding a faint glimmer inside. When I knelt to look closer, I saw that each shard contained a scene, a fragment of someone's memory. An old fisherman lighting his pipe at dusk, a child releasing a paper lantern into the night, a woman writing a letter by candlelight, a soldier watching snow fall from a train window, all of them glowing, all of them alive in their own small eternities. The sea whispered again, "This is what light becomes when it's remembered." I felt my throat tighten. How many lights are here? The sea sighed, a sound like wind through 1,000 sails. As many as there are souls who ever kept one burning. I sat there for a long time. It felt right to be silent, to let the glow speak for me. Each fragment shimmered softly in rhythm with my breath. I could feel my heartbeat slowing, not from exhaustion, but from peace. Somewhere in the distance, a bell chimed low and patient. It was the sound of a harbor, the kind that welcomes ships home after years at sea. The sound wrapped around me like warmth, and I found myself smiling without meaning to. Then I saw her again, the woman from my memories, standing at the far end of the glass shore. She was younger than I remembered, and her dress swayed as though moved by a breeze only she could feel. She looked at me, and her eyes were no longer eyes, they were lanterns. Not bright, not blinding, just steady, the kind of light that never fades. "I told you," she said softly, "the sea would calm again." My voice caught in my throat. "I waited, I know," she said, "and now it's time to rest." Her words didn't sound final. They sounded like a beginning. The world began to shimmer again, not vanish, but dissolve. The islands of light folded back into the sea. The fragments of glass turned into stars, and the sound of the bell echoed, fainter, fainter, until it became part of my breathing. She held out her hand. It felt weightless when I took it, like holding moonlight. We walked together, and every step left trails of light that faded behind us. There was no hurry, no destination, just movement, just peace. And beneath it all, a single truth rising like dawn, that the light I kept burning all my life was never meant to fight the darkness. It was meant to guide me home. The light beneath my feet had faded into soft gold, and the sea had grown still, so still that I could no longer tell where the water ended and the sky began. It was as if the world had exhaled. Beside me, her hand remained in mine, warm, steady, real, in a place where nothing else was. We walked across the horizon itself, our steps leaving circles of light that glimmered for a moment, then disappeared. Ahead, through the quiet veil of mist, something began to take shape, a faint glow, low and wide, as though the world was lighting one last lantern just for us. It was a harbor, a place I had never seen, yet somehow always known. The shore curved gently, lined with countless lanterns drifting on the water. Each one floated slowly, carried by an invisible tide toward a single golden arch. The arch stood tall above the sea, woven from light and wind and time. It shimmered like the threshold of a dream, and beyond it the horizon glowed with colors too soft for day and too deep for night. I stopped walking. For a moment I only watched. The air smelled of salt and homecoming. There was no sound, only the slow heartbeat of the sea. She turned to me, her eyes reflecting the glow. "You've come far," she said softly. "There's nothing left to keep." I nodded, though a small ache stirred inside me. "It feels strange," I whispered, "to leave the light behind." Her smile was tender, the kind that forgives everything. "You're not leaving it," she said. "You are it." We stood together, watching the lanterns drift toward the arch. Each one seemed to hum, a faint song of remembrance, each note a soul finding its way home. I noticed one lantern among them, smaller than the rest, its glow flickering with quiet persistence. Something about it felt familiar. When it floated closer, I saw what it was. My lantern, the one from the tower. The same flame I'd tended all those years, the same light that had kept my heart awake. It had followed me. I reached down and the lantern rose toward my hand as if pulled by breath. Its glass was warm, alive. Inside it, I saw every night I had ever lived. The storms, the fog, the waiting, the soft hum of the sea against the stones. And in that glow, I also saw her face, not as memory, but as presence woven into the same light. I closed my eyes. The warmth spread through me, slow, patient, forgiving. It reached my fingertips, my breath, my heartbeat. When I opened my eyes again, the lantern was gone, but its glow remained not outside me but within. We began walking again toward the golden arch. The water beneath us rippled with quiet music. Each step made the world softer, less solid, more light. At the base of the arch, she stopped and turned to me. "This is where the journey ends," she said, "and where peace begins." I didn't speak. Words no longer seemed to belong here. She lifted her hand to my cheek, and in that single touch, the years dissolved. The weight of time, the silence of solitude, the ache of waiting, all of it melted like frost beneath dawn. "You've kept the light well," she whispered. "It will keep others now." The air shimmered softly, and a path of light unfolded through the arch. I looked once more at the horizon behind me. The sea stretched endlessly, calm, silver, eternal. In its stillness, I could feel every heartbeat that had ever echoed within it, every soul that had watched its waves, every dream that had sailed upon it. And I realized the sea was not an ocean. It was the memory of peace itself. I stepped forward. Light wrapped around me like silk. The horizon opened and the sound of waves turned into a gentle hum, the rhythm of sleep, the pulse of eternity. For a moment it felt as though I was floating between breaths, between the end of one dream and the beginning of another. And then, slowly, everything became quiet. I don't remember closing my eyes. I only remember warmth like sunlight passing through glass. Somewhere far behind me, a lantern flickered for the last time in the old stone tower, and far ahead, countless others began to glow, each one catching the light, each one whispering the same word across the sea: rest. The harbor faded into a sea of golden mist. The voice of the ocean softened into silence. And as I drifted deeper into that endless calm, a final thought passed through me, not spoken but felt, that perhaps the light was never something I kept alive, but something that had been keeping me alive all along. Now I am the sea. Now I am the light. Now I am home. I can still feel the hum of the sea, gentle and endless like a breath that never ends. Somewhere the lanterns are still drifting, each one carrying a small, steady glow, a memory, a whisper, a dream. When I close my eyes, I can see them floating quietly across the horizon of my mind. And among them there is one light that always finds its way back to me. Mine, yours, ours. The same light that has been here since the beginning, soft, calm, patient. Pause, warm tone if you're still awake, breathe gently. Let your chest rise and fall like the tide, slow and peaceful. There's nothing to do now, nowhere to be, no one to become. Just the sound of the sea, the rhythm of your breath, and the quiet knowing that you are safe. Soft flute or harp begins faintly. I remember what she told me before she vanished into the light. "You've kept the lantern well. It will guide others now." And I think she was right, Because every story, every dream is just a lantern passed from one soul to another, lighting the dark, one heart at a time. So if tonight you feel a little glow within you, that calm warmth spreading in your chest, know that you are part of that same light. You are not lost. You are home. Pause, slow inhale, let the quiet hold you now. Let the darkness turn soft around you. You can rest. Every sound, every memory, every breath, they are all drifting away, back into the great, still ocean. Faint sound of wind chime again, fading in and out, and if you dream tonight, may your dreams be calm seas and golden lanterns. May you find the light that waits beyond the waves. Soft smile in the narrator's tone, I will be there too, somewhere in that quiet glow, watching the horizon shimmer with peace. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Good night, traveler. Good night, dreamer. Good night, keeper of light.